Hi, I'm Scott Stafford. I'm here with my sister Cher, and I'm really excited. I actually have been talking with her back and forth about a lot of the anxiety and issues that have come up with me on my path through Salesforce, and she's agreed to really enter the ecosystem. She's really excited to share her specialty and help us in the ecosystem really deal with a lot of mental issues that come up. Cher?
Yeah, so Scott asked me to talk a little bit specifically about anxiety, and I wanted to start very, very quickly just to give some education about anxiety. It can come from a lot of different things, and it can look like a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that everyone has had the racing heart, the panicked breathing,
yes,
the sweaty palms, just difficulty concentrating, and those all very much can be symptoms of anxiety. But I did want to put a disclaimer out there that sometimes those also can be a sign that there's a medical condition going on. So be sure and get yourself checked out if you're having a lot of physical symptoms. I also wanted to throw it out there that sometimes symptoms of anxiety can be coming from trauma. I know this is DV Awareness Month as well as Homeless Awareness Month. And sometimes people who have a lot of trauma in their past, they can be having those symptoms, they can just pop up way later in life. So if you are someone who is really struggling and you know you have a very traumatic past, sometimes it's helpful to reach out to a psychotherapist and get some help. I think I didn't introduce myself. So again, my name is Sherlyn Fish. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I did want to just share with you some tips for working on anxiety. I have, as Scott mentioned, I'm excited about engaging with Salesforce. I have my account and I'm working on my first batch.
Yep. So she's going to be going through the big test anxiety. I think that's where we're going to start out. I am a 5-star ranger. I've taken a lot of tests. I think I have passed 15 of them now. And I've had the whole gamut of anxiety through the very first test, which probably was the hardest. Through each time you get those nerves, you doubt yourself, you push back the test date. And for Sherlyn, she's about ready to go through that, but she's been through another hard test. Cher, do you want to share a little bit about that and what it meant for you?
Definitely. So I was sharing with Scott because he was wondering how relatable it was, just the life of a therapist or anyone else. But, in the process of getting licensed, it's pretty grueling, and there are a lot of big state exams that you need to take.
Right.
And I was very nervous taking my second one, and there was a lot riding on it for me. I'm a single mom, and I have 4 boys, and it was a significant increase in pay, once I passed this test and got licensed. And so there was a lot of potentially life-changing things that could happen for me when I passed this test, and I certainly needed the money. So when I went into the test, and I actually didn't pass it the first time that I took it, and so I had to recenter myself and reground and pick myself back up. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I did that really, really helped me, because life is real, and we fall down, we get anxious, and things happen. So I don't know, I mentioned that to Scott, and he said you should share that with them. So I'm being really vulnerable with you. Tests are hard, they provoke anxiety, and oftentimes there's a lot of meaning attached to them, and they mean a lot for your life, they mean a lot for your careers. And so I don't want to minimize that. And again, I just really wanted to be transparent with you that I've taken a lot of tests and they've had a lot of meaning and impact for my life. Luckily, I did pass it with flying colors the next time. And as I reflected, I think a lot of the barriers that I had were anxiety. I didn't sleep the night before. I was so anxious to get there, I just rushed to the test. So those are some of the things that I kind of want to review with you that I think will help in a lot of different settings.
Right.
Yes.
I think for Sherlyn, she's really been instrumental in my career. I mean, whether it's I'm going to a big Dreamforce event and I have a lot of anxiety, there's a lot riding on the ticket, you purchased it, you want to really make those connections, and with the test. So she has some very practical things as far as just taking care of yourself, being in the right mindset, and really taking the opportunity to give yourself your best shot at what you're about ready to do.
Right. Sure? And some of them are going to seem very silly and basic, and so I'll just move quickly over those. A good night's sleep. So setting yourself up to win. And it might mean, setting an alarm, listening to meditation. And that's actually one of my tips later on. I cannot tell you how powerful meditation is. And there's a ton of them already on the internet. Yeah. So just Google 5-minute meditation and listen to it and practice regulating your breathing and putting yourself in a good mindset. This does more for than you could imagine. This changes your brain chemistry. When you practice meditation and relaxation, the neural connections in your brain, you're practicing being in a very relaxed state. So it's so good for you, and it's a really nice space to put yourself in before you go into sleep. So for sure, getting a good night's sleep, and that comes with, you know, having like a bedtime routine. Yes, and that might sound like a kid, but you know, just having a lot of structure. Meditation is oftentimes helpful before you go to bed. And then eating well. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm a psychotherapist, but really healthy foods and having a balanced diet, because you don't want to run on empty. So if you're running on empty with sleep, then you don't have a lot to give. Your brain isn't working at its best. And when you run on empty with fuel for your body with food, then it's not performing at its best.
That really resonates, because a lot of times the tests are long. I mean, if you're taking a Salesforce test, it's nearly 2 hours. And at first, you know, I would like to try and get all amped up, and I might try a Snickers bar. But really, for the long duration, I found that actually eating a really healthy breakfast, some eggs, some toast, you know, some protein in there that help you burn through that. You don't just need that sugar rush, but you're going to need to make sure you get through the whole test.
Yes, and he's broken the sugar habit. Man, Snickers, you had him addicted for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm loving to hear all the protein that you like have now. As silly as it is, again, makes a big difference. It's really the foundation for your body. I did just want to give a little bit more psychoeducation on anxiety and your brain. So we're going to talk about the cognitive triangle, and you can kind of think of it like this, and there's 3 parts to it.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
This is your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So your thoughts are just things that come up for you, and they create a feeling for you. So if you think of something very pleasant, a pleasant memory, it's going to elicit a feeling. So a pleasant memory for me is hiking Half Dome with my brother. So
I love Half Dome.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of pleasant...
That actually triggered it right there. You say the word Half Dome and I get excited.
And did you guys see his face?
Yeah.
So it's a pleasant memory, and it elicited a pleasant feeling, which I'm sure you could see.
Yeah.
And then pleasant actions. I mean, you're seeing the smile on his face and the nodding. So all connected. It's just, again, it's silly, but it's really helpful to be mindful of this, because oftentimes your thoughts can drift in negative directions.
Ah.
So that was a positive one. And I really encourage you to practice that, to practice positive meditation, but also to be mindful that when you're struggling, sometimes you shift your thoughts, you shift into something negative. Like if you're taking a test, you might shift into, I don't know the answer, I'm going to fail. And then that makes you feel
like you're in a negative mindset. You're really kind of doubting yourself.
Yeah, and then your action might be to give up.
Yeah.
I have heard of even people shutting down the test, a test that they've paid for. So
Yeah.
that the action is
I have heard of people even doing that. The test can start out really hard in a Salesforce exam, and a lot of times you're like, am I even going to pass these? Like the first 5 questions are really, really hard. But if you stick with it, a lot of times, you know, you find out that, hey, you actually did a lot better than you thought, and it could get easier. But I've had times where I've almost like said, okay, there's like no chance. Let's just stop this right now. But I did, and things went well. So
Yeah. And sometimes they don't go well, as I shared. So sometimes it means going back to the table and studying more, or looking at, you know, if you need to support yourself with some better, you know, working on your anxiety. But
Right.
That's how powerful the triangle is. So thoughts, feelings, actions. So you really impact yourself with the thoughts that come in your head. And it's easier said than done, but it does take practice. So when you get into a negative thought pattern, I don't want to tell you that you didn't feel that. You know, you might feel like, oh, this is hard. I don't know the answer. That's okay. But I really, as quickly as you can, shift it to, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep going. I really encourage you to explore a mantra for yourself that works. I'm not going to give up. I think I asked you your mantra once. What's your mantra when things are going like wacko to kind of encourage yourself?
a lot of times I like to think that success is just a whole bunch of failures. I usually just think of, that's my mantra. Like,
it's so beautiful.
Just fail a few times and eventually I'm going to make it through. I'm not going to give up ever.
Right, and I know what's so good about that is that he's acknowledging that failure is going to come, but that he is going to succeed. He's going to get right back up again. So practicing a positive mindset, it does take practice, but it's something I just really wanted to give you that education of how closely it's connected, and that I really want to encourage you practice shifting it. So shifting from the negatives to the positives as quickly as you can. Sometimes it means writing them down. If you're a person who really struggles with shifting to the negative and I don't have a job yet, I'm going to fail this test, this is costing me a lot of money, I really encourage you to practice possibly journaling.
Yeah, she actually really, this resonated. She actually really told me that before a lot of tests, she said, just start writing down, write the line right now, Scott. Just say, you're going to pass this exam. You're going to do your best. This is what your more is. And I was like, really? You know, but I actually did it, and it really helped because it kind of, it ingrained it in me that it wasn't just something I said, but I like had to go through the motion of writing out the words and really putting that cognitive mindset that this is something that was going to happen. So it was great. It really works.
Right. And there's a saying that says practice makes permanent.
Yep.
So the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And that will be what you shift to. So your brain is very plastic and there's a lot of neural connections and you become wired. You could actually become wired to becoming a very negative person. And you can also wire yourself to become more resilient. So it can take practice. And Scott has practiced a lot too. Like when he goes into things, he'll write down his mantra or he'll say it. And then when things get tough, okay, validate it. Hey, this is a tough test, but shift as quickly as you can into not beating yourself up because it's not helpful. Remember the triangle? It's going to help you. That thought is going to be connected to the feeling and then possibly an action that is really not going to be helpful for your future. So that's the cognitive triangle and the thoughts. Just a little bit more on journaling. So journaling is a safe space to do so many things. I have actually heard of people journaling just pictures or drawings. Sometimes they put colors and feelings. But for the space of personal growth, I really encourage you, if you really want to get into it and practice the art of journaling, to be mindful of your day. So at night, reflect on a high and a low of the day. So a high is to really encourage yourself and validate what you did that day. Even if it was just encouraging a friend or talking to someone, days are your life, right? And it's your story. And some days are really, powerful and colorful and crazy things are happening, but I don't want you to miss life because sometimes it's mundane. But I really want you to find space in there for joy. So it can be as small as encouraging someone. Scott's a very powerful encouraging. I feel like that's a natural strength that we have going back and forth. But really reach out to people in a day. Try and find joy. Even I had a nice breakfast. I didn't burn my toast. So something positive, and then something that didn't go well. Because I don't want to take that away from you. Life is hard, and for me to say that it's not is a lie. So go ahead and put that in there, and you can have space for that. But then have space for just your positive mantras, and even maybe what you want to do the next day. So I want to encourage you to practice, again, validating all feelings, but not to focus or dwell too long on the negative ones. Because again, neuroplasticity, your brain can become wired like that. So there really needs to be a balance, kind of a homeostasis in your brain. So that's...
Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of the stuff that Sherlyn's going over doesn't just apply to test taking. We actually have used this, and I've gotten a lot of counseling from her, actually, of doing interviews. She had something that was really special to me. It was about the smile. Sherry, do you want to talk a little bit about when you're doing an interview, a lot of the stuff that we talked about does apply, but there's a few other things that are special to interviews. Sure.
Right. Sometimes I feel like my tips are so small, and I really love that they resonate with Scott.
Yeah, the smile.
Because it is that powerful. Again, your brain and neuroplasticity, you are rewiring your brain. But this one really impacts others around you. So a smile is very, very powerful because it shifts your mindset. So very, very powerful for interviews, for social interactions, and just life in general. But if you can practice the art of smiling, and not like ha ha ha, just laughing when there's nothing to laugh at, but just putting, like Scott has, just shifting your lips upward, it literally changes the brain chemistry going on. Like you can't even control it. So all the positive feel-good hormones are being released in your brain. But the benefit of that is that it's contagious. So when you're in proximity of someone and they're seeing that smile, it sends a message to them and it lights up that center in their brain too. So in an interview, it's very powerful because they can read you. And when you're messaging, your eyes are down, you're starting to stumble, and sometimes your voice does shake. I'm not going to lie, that does happen.
Yeah.
But as much as we can, we want to practice that. So the positive thinking, it's helping you stay calm, and we didn't go over deep breathing. We'll do that in a minute.
Yep.
But the smile, it's helping regulate yourself. It's giving yourself like the gift of all these chemicals in your brain, but it's also messaging to the people who are watching you. So I'm looking at Scott, he's making me feel good. And for you, the person who's interviewing you, they're like, yeah, they seem pretty calm. It's there's something called neuroconnection. So you mirror it to them, and you can actually change how they're feeling to some degree. So when you're mirroring anxiety and frustration, and you're fumbling and I don't know, and they see it, then you're triggering something in them. You're triggering that kind of anxiety. But if you can be like, hey, it's cool, I'm happy, and you feel confident, you're really sending that message, and that impacts how they're feeling about you. It really is like, I feel like this is stating the obvious, but I think it's worth mentioning. A smile is very, very powerful. It's a gift to yourself, and it's a gift to the people around you. So practice it in interviews, but just practice it in life in general.
A lot of times your interviews are actually on Zoom. And one thing that Sherlyn encouraged me to do is actually just put the word smile on a sticky note and put it on the sides of your laptop or computer. And that way, when you're doing the interview, you would just like, you get that question that maybe you don't quite know the answer, and you look up and you see the word smile, and you could just be honest and just smile and say, I really don't know that, but I'm excited to learn. I'm excited for the opportunity that you guys are presenting. And it really just resonates with people. I mean, people want to work with somebody who is fun, happy, and excited to do whatever activity they're going to be doing at the company. So it's a really great thing.
Right. Because you're a whole person. I mean, you're an employee, and you certainly bring gifts and talents, but you also bring your person, your life experiences.
Right.
So, and oftentimes I interview people quite frequently, and those are the things I want to know. I'm like, well, what do you do in your downtime? What do you do for fun? Because I mean, I could see from your resume that you know how to do these things, but I want to make sure that you're a good team fit. And when you message that you feel confident and happy, and that you have a lot of things going on in life. Kind of full transparency with the smile. So we're shooting this video in my living room, and Scott said, hey, something that makes you smile are your 4 boys, who I love. And so he moved a picture of the boys to behind the camera for me. So that's something, an image that helps me feel really happy, and it makes a smile instantly come to my face. So there's a lot of things that you could do for yourself when interviewing, just how you set up the room. In the interviewing, just again, making sure you're dressed appropriately and that your room is clean. Those are things I've seen in interviews.
I think that actually helps with anxiety too, is actually just taking it seriously, trying, like we said, make sure you eat right, but also, do the things that need to be done. Make sure the lighting's right, make sure that you're ready for the interview, make sure that you research the company, make sure that you're in a mindful state to answer the questions, get a good night's sleep. That's also important.
Definitely. So another thing, just bring it to test taking and Salesforce, is grounding yourself. Again, I do want to validate that anxiety happens. It happens to all of us. So there's something called grounding that you can do for yourself sitting in your chair. And we like to encourage people, if you feel the anxiety coming, or if you feel the negative thoughts coming, as quickly as you can, shift it into your positive. I can do this. I'm going to shift my smile. Practice giving yourself a positive. But when you're grounding, you could, so you try and use your senses and you go through them. So you go through your touch. So I like to kind of press myself in the chair and be like, I'm okay, I'm fine. This space is safe for me. And you could also ground with your eyes. So the visualization for me is the picture behind the camera. So I'm grounding. This space is safe for me. I see a picture of my loving family behind me. Again, going through your senses. So physically, my touch is the chair. Nice chair. I feel safe and comfy. Looking at Scott. I love Scott. So I'm grounding myself in this room. Smell is tricky. Sometimes you can actually create that if smell, and smell actually can elicit a lot of, again, neurochemistry in your brain. So maybe you do want to have like coffee there if that's something that...
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love coffee. So that's the first time she's ever said that one. I'm thinking that would actually help, right? Make a big brew and it'd be in the air.
Oh boy, does Scott love coffee.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other
That's
story.
a whole other stuff. Okay.
His espresso. Actually, he came to visit me, and gosh, I don't know if we should be saying brands, but I have a Keurig. And that didn't last for an hour, and he went to Target and he got me an espresso. He goes, I got you a present. And then I'm addicted. Okay, I get it. They're both good, actually. He says, are you going to get rid of the other one? And I'm like, well, no, I kind of love both. But so, side story. So you can ground yourself with a sense, with a touch, again, smelling, and also hearing. Of course, when you're in an interview, you want it to be safe and quiet. So, I mean, just being mindful of your surroundings, though. And if you do take me up on practicing meditation, a piece of that is quiet, because we do live, it's a noisy world we live in.
Yeah.
And I did one actually right before this video, and just practicing quiet and a safe space is very, very grounding. So it helped me be grounded. And again, I send that energy to Scott. So that quietness is something I feel like I brought with me, that tranquility. So you may not be able to ground yourself in that moment when you're in the interview, if you're trying to ground with sound. But I think that just reflecting on the meditation that you did and that quiet, safe space.
That really brings me to the topic. A lot of times another anxiety that really comes up in the Salesforce world is not just during test taking or interviews, but it's just in sometimes the life of a Salesforce. There's a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. I'm sure you've all been in that situation where something catastrophe has happened inside of the org and you're trying to get it under control before it becomes a big disaster or that everybody knows about it. And Sherlyn has a tip with breathing that really helps you in some of those moments, because I think your anxiety level can freak out and rather than reacting and doing what you need to do, you actually just kind of go into like a fight or flight, moment. And sometimes you're not making a thoughtful decision is what really needs to be done when you're dealing with tech, is really calm down and make sure you think through the solution. So Sher, what tip did you have for that?
Definitely. And I like that you use the word catastrophizing because our brains do run amok. Sometimes when things go wrong or in a test or in an interview, if things don't go perfectly, you could fixate on that and it can really derail you. And sometimes when you get derailed, you begin to like hyperventilate and you'll breathe more quickly. So that's where you'll see your heart racing, your hands are sweating, and your mind is racing. Again, a very simple tip is to practice deep breathing. There's a lot of ways to teach it, and I've worked with a lot of clients of all age ranges. With little kids, I'll tell them to kind of take a deep breath in, and then I encourage them to try and capture a little bit more of a breath to fully fill their lungs, and then I tell them to blow out a birthday candle. I still do that because I love my birthday, but taking a deep breath in and then blowing it out and blowing out a birthday cake. For me, that elicits a smile, so that's a win-win. Some people think that they're too old for that and it's a little cheesy. So another one you can do, and this one helps you have touch because you can kind of touch your hands. But if your hand's in your lap, you can practice breathing in, going up over your finger. Take a deep breath in, and then slowly releasing this. And you can do this while you're talking to people because interviews are typically over Zoom. So you could have your hands in your lap and you could be going through your fingers, just breathing in and out.
I challenge everybody to do that during this video. I mean, just try it out. You'll be amazed of how much getting that extra oxygen and holding it in, it really calms you down and makes you feel a lot better. I mean, this has really changed my life. Sure, do you want to show us, give us a walkthrough of actually doing it?
Oh, sure. I mean, so again, if you put your hand in your lap, so taking a deep breath in.
And then sometimes you said take a little extra.
And then letting it out slowly through your nose.
Oh, I feel better.
Yeah, and then another breath in. And if you kind of put a little smile, you could actually be doing it and smiling and just giving yourself a pause during the interview. Another breath in. And then slowly exhale.
And I think when you're really in a very stressful moment, you're going to find that this really does help. I mean, we're doing it right now, and I'm sure you're watching this video and you're not that stressed. But when everything is going haywire at work, just take a minute, be mindful, and try that. And it really changes everything.
It really slows things down. And it's also turning your brain back on. So when you're breathing quickly and you're beginning to hyperventilate, and the reason your fingers are tingling and sweating is because your body's not getting the oxygen that it needs. So when you can slow down and give your body the oxygen and give your brain the oxygen again, you tend to think better. So you're actually giving yourself your thinking back. So that crazy panic, and some people actually pass out, they can get so anxious. So again, it's turning your body back on, but it's getting your brain fully engaged again. So you can think, so you can talk. It seems like a small thing, but it's a very, very powerful tool. And a lot of these are very small. I mean, very, just small tips. So, just slowing down your breathing, having a smile, having, a positive mindset, positive self-talk, kind of journaling, just reviewing again some of the things we talked about, a good night's sleep, good nutrition. One of the last ones I wanted to touch on, because again, it's so powerful, and the neuroconnections, the brain chemistry behind this it's just documented. and it's community. And that's another thing that has been very enduring to me as Scott has been teaching me Salesforce, and now I'm on my Salesforce journey, is the community. So reaching out when you need support for the highs and lows in your life is so powerful, and that's something that Salesforce does beautifully.
Yep.
I love it, love it, love it. And it's so good for you. There's so many studies done on this. People perform better when they have people. I mean, I could tell you just crazy studies of like monkeys who are isolated and how they function is, I mean, they'll actually die. They could starve themselves because they won't, elicit food. But you put just one extra monkey in the cage with them and they thrive because they have a buddy. They have community. They think better. They have better problem solving skills. So I know we're not monkeys, but we really are. There is a lot of parallels to how powerful community is for us.
Right.
We think better, we function better, we're happier, we're more productive. So I think the term is mahalo.
Yeah.
So I kind of, as we're starting to wrap up, I just really want to encourage people to continue to practice mahalo, encourage support. Check in on your highs and lows. And I really challenge you to ask each other, hey, what's your mantra? So you could co-encourage people with that. Mine is fully present is enough. I have a lot of years of experience, and I don't know everything, but I know a lot. And one thing that I know is that, when I get too tech smart or too book smart, then I'm not with somebody. But being fully present with the smile, the deep breathing, it's enough. It's enough for this relationship. So me being fully present and leaving school behind when it's done and just being fully present, it's enough to build a really powerful relationship.
I like that mantra. On the bottom of this, you can actually find a little link to a PowerPoint. It goes over all of the stuff that we just went over. So it'll help you just to refresh that and then really use these tips, because I think this will really help with anxiety and help you do better in the Salesforce ecosystem and through your journey on tests, interviews, or just those stressful moments that you might find yourself in during your career.
Definitely. Best of luck. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. Bye.